we go. Evan and Tiki here on the Fan with Evan in France. Oui. Tiki Barber. That didn't stop. Oui. That didn't stop him from watching the Subway Series and doing videos from France. A Subway Series is in the books. The teams split the season series 3-3. The Yankees sweep the Sunday portion of the Subway Series.
What does that even mean?
Well, both Sunday games the Yankees and Mets played this year, the Yankees swept. So the brooms were out yesterday for the New York Yankees.
You're trying everything.
Hey, listen.
You're trying anything to be positive.
Anything to be positive. But I don't think the positive stuff is ultimately going to work, Teak. Despite yesterday's win, and they needed it. Obviously, the Yankees did. And we'll get to the Met angle in just a moment. Just a disastrous weekend when you consider what they came off of versus Toronto as the Blue Jays continue to churn on and win games. Carlos Rodon on Saturday, just an unmitigated disaster. And the Yankees do salvage a game yesterday that they needed to. But, Tiki, I think where we lie here as we head to this final stretch before the All-Star break is, has this recent Yankee play been a rough patch or another version of the June Boone swoon that has now bled into July?
Yeah.
And I lead the latter, man. This team has major issues.
Well, there's a ton of issues. The only one that's not is King Aaron Judge, who is amazing every single day you put him out there. It doesn't matter if you're throwing one pitch at him, he's going to take advantage of it and either hit a home run or get an RBI. You give King Judge his due. After that, there's not a whole lot of consistency. I guess Jazz Chisholm over the last month has been pretty good.
Yep.
And he's an all-star, rightfully so. But there's questions everywhere when it comes to second base, third base. We talk about DJ all the time. You talk about Jazz playing the field. He's obviously been really good at the plate, but he's better as a second baseman.
Yep.
And that decision, why it's consistently, I don't know, made is frustrating to me. Maybe a reset at the All-Star break will get them right, but the Yankees just feel like they're holes. I'm not saying they're bad, because they're not bad.
No.
They're a good team, and they're going to be a good team, and they're going to make the postseason, and who knows what happens once you get there. But it feels like there are flaws, there are little leaks, holes in this big bubble that they created, and it's starting to, it turned out in bad ways every single time they take the field.
Well, no doubt about it, and I think that's where... Well, let's just start here. My biggest issue is there's no doubt the Yankees have major flaws. Newsflash, they have for basically each of the last 8 years under Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman in this tenure. The problem is they can get by on flaws when they have an ace, like you saw Max Fried yesterday, although it wasn't his best stuff, go through 5 innings. And when you have the best player in baseball, like you do Aaron Judge, and it clouds all these other philosophical differences. I said that word wrong. I'm going to get plenty wrong Philosophical differences.
Yes, I know what you meant.
All right. Yesterday, before the game even starts, I was pissed off of the losing streak when the lineup comes out and they decide, unbelievably again, to sit Jazz Chisholm Jr. versus a bullpen game, so I don't want to hear any lefty-righty crap, and Jason Dominguez, and then Jazz Chisholm Jr. We find out that Jazz Chisholm Jr., let's connect the dots here, has a shoulder issue that affects him on throwing, but has not affected his bat, and the Yankees are looking to get him a day off.
Right. So why is he not playing second base?
Okay, let's start there before we get to Dominguez. All right? The last couple weeks we've been talking about whenever they've peppered Peraza in, or even LeMahieu, who can't move at second base.
Yes.
Why is Jazz not playing his natural position at second base while these other guys could play third and Peraza? The idea was we don't want to move guys back and forth. So now we find out that Jazz has had a shoulder issue that's affecting his throwing, but you put him at the spot where he's going to be throwing longer, and you claim infield defense?
Right.
So backward.
Well, it obviously creates a challenge for Jazz, because even when, I know this because I played hurt a lot. In football, you had to. Otherwise, someone's taking your job. So you're playing hurt, and while you feel like you are okay, you know that you're compromising something to just feel okay. And so if you're playing third base and you have a shoulder, let's call it an impingement, who knows what it actually is, a shoulder issue that's preventing you from being elite, that elite athlete that we know Jazz is. I honestly feel like Jazz, you can throw him anywhere, maybe except for first base or catcher. Throw him anywhere, he's going to be actually okay.
Yeah.
Right?
I actually think he'd be okay at first, too. He's that good an athlete.
Right, you probably would be, but digging the ball is different. It's a skill that you kind of have to learn and get your hand-eye coordination correct. But what my point is, he is a great athlete, and you could put him anywhere, most places in the infield or in the outfield, and it'd be okay. But if you know that he's hurt, why are you going to put him in a position just because he's a good athlete and can adjust, as was their need last year when they moved him to third base? Put him in a position where he's comfortable and he doesn't have to, I don't know, get out of sorts and fling the ball across the diamond in order to make outs. And that's why we've seen, in retrospect, you look at some of those throws, it's like, well, maybe he was just trying not to hurt himself.
Right.
And so,
exactly.
And so if Aaron Boone knew this, it doesn't make any sense why he was continually run out there at third base. And it's the same issue that we've had with Aaron Boone when you start seeing the success that Jason Dominguez has had over the last couple of weeks. Right? Why? What prevented you from just running? Just run him out there and see. And now you're running him out there and seeing, and he's almost every game he's doing something valuable. And so, to me, this is Boone's decision-making. Now, I don't know if it's backed by analytics, but this is decision-making that's putting this team in a worse position than they should actually be in.
Right, and bingo. Brian Cashman's put together the roster. For all its flaws,
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Right.
It is the roster. Your job, whether that is in collaboration with the general manager and analytics department, is to put the roster that you have in the best way to succeed here.
Right.
And what the Yankees did this weekend, coming off of and that's the important part. You got swept by Toronto, lost first place. You needed to act with urgency, and they didn't. They led off Dominguez on Friday, leads off with a homer, and I'm thinking, great. They figured it out. How we got to Sunday afternoon off of 2 losses with Dominguez continuing to hit and sitting him yesterday, and then their sell is, well, with Max Fried on the mound, we're going to go with the best team defense, was garbage. And yes, they got bailed out, and it worked. But it is BS because it was not their best team defense. Number one, if it was, Jazz Chisholm Jr. would have simply been playing at second, but you gave him a day off. Number 2, and this is where I keep receipts and I don't forget. Tiki, we sat here in spring training, and what was the argument about Jason Dominguez? He is not a left fielder.
Yes.
He is a center fielder.
Right.
Okay? And do you remember? Because I don't forget this. Do we remember what Evan argued? What was argued by people was, well, Cody Bellinger's a better center fielder than he is a left fielder.
Looked pretty damn good in left field yesterday.
Exactly, Tiki. He has the play of the day in left field, flawless in left field. So yesterday, when Jason Dominguez is sitting to get, quote-unquote, the Yankees' best defensive outfield or team out there, my question would be, well, whose fault is it that that's their best defensive team? They completely square peg, round hole, put Jason Dominguez in left field where he's been fine at points this year, misplayed a couple balls, and they totally screwed this thing up. They got bailed out with a win yesterday, and that bailout is going to make people think everything's fine or make them feel like they're the smartest people in the room. I'm sorry, it feels like they lie to the fan base constantly. They can't keep up with their own lies.
Forget the fan base. It feels like they're lying to themselves, Shaun. It feels like they're trying to convince themselves that this is going to work, that this is something that is sustainable, that you're not going to have to worry about. The Jazz will figure it out because he figured it out a year ago when they went to the World Series after they picked him up in that trade in the middle of the season. So it feels like they're just saying it over and over and over and over again to themselves to convince themselves that this is the way to go about it. Now, is it terminal? No. Again, I'm not panicked. It sucked that they lost 6 in a row. That the Blue Jays, who just can't lose right now, they've won 8 in a row, and are all of a sudden 3 games up in the division.
That'll level out, though.
Of course it will. I mean, baseball is streaky. It's baseball. We know that. But all of a sudden, the Yankees a week ago were 2 or 3 games up in the division. Now they're 3 games back in the division, and so that sucks. But I'm not panicked about that. I'm more panicked about what are you doing to put this team in position to learn how to be great when it matters. And it doesn't feel like they're doing that because they're lying to themselves about who can do what or who should be doing what. I know Jason Dominguez is young. This is basically his rookie. It is his rookie season, even though he's been up here in previous years. But the more he plays, I think the better he's going to become. And so you have to put him in position to learn on the job, not have to jump up in the middle of the left field and make a catch that he should have just been standing under. But the only way that's happening is if he plays and plays and plays. And if you put him in his natural position, because Cody Bellinger can play anywhere in left field, right field, center field, first base, wherever. He's kind of like Jazz in that regard. Let Jason Dominguez be most comfortable. Let Jazz Chisholm be most comfortable.
Yeah, and look, Jason Dominguez, when he led off on Friday, he's going to have his bad days, and I understand he's not as good with the right-handed side than he is with the left-handed side. He's their answer at the leadoff position here. This leadoff hitting spot for the New York Yankees has been in a mega hole that you thought maybe at some point Anthony Volpe last year would have grabbed and hasn't. Jason Dominguez should be playing every day with his speed and his tools and be the leadoff hitter, and if you're that worried about his defense, then on those days where you need to rush a Bellinger Grisham out there, he could be DHing to give Stanton his days off. Right. I'm sorry. I stand here today on a week before the deadline. That is by far their second most important bat besides Aaron Judge. And honestly, the second most important goal besides winning a World Series is developing Jason Dominguez, and they continue to hinder him. You cannot sell me that he was good enough to hit leadoff, do his job, then get bounced to the sixth spot in the lineup on Saturday and bounced out of the lineup on Sunday and sell me that the team needed him for defense. And if you're selling me, again, that Bellinger needed to be out there in left field, why wasn't Bellinger the left fielder in spring training and Dominguez just playing his natural position? So they are just so backwards, and it's really, really aggravating. And now here you go, Seattle, who, by the way, just shut out Pittsburgh every single game this weekend, comes rolling in here for a couple games. Can the Yankees simply tread water and get to the All-Star break and figure that out? I don't believe that this is a simple rough spot. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I believe no changes will be made, and wash, rinse, repeat, same old for the Yankees. 888-808-1019.
I said this a lot last week for the Mets. It's like, man, you need a rest. You need a respite. You need a break. You need the All-Star game to get here quickly so that guys can just get off and rethink things and reset themselves. That's Volpe. That's everyone. But it's also Aaron Boone. The challenge is the Yankees are going to go through 6 games here before the All-Star break, or they could get swept again.
They could.
They could get swept. They could get swept by Seattle. They could get swept by Chicago, who's no slouch either in the National League. I know it's in a league and it doesn't mean as much, but still, there's a good chance that the Yankees don't correct themselves over the next week and a half, and they go into the All-Star break feeling completely deflated after leading the division and being one of the best teams in the American League for most of this season. And so there's not an answer, but it's like you just almost can't wait for it to get here, even if it is ugly getting there.
Yeah, no team needs the All-Star break more than the New York Yankees. Now, quickly on the Mets' point of view from this, those 2 games versus the Brewers and getting them in your pocket before rolling in versus the Yankees, I think were an enormous confidence boost.
Yep.
Obviously, you come out to take the gut punch the Mets did on Friday, answer back after the 2 homers the Yankees started the game with. Come back, you get the big hit. Luke Weaver is not right still, and he admitted as much so after Friday's game. Then Saturday, you jump. What a gutless start from Carlos Rodon, too. The Mets jump all over Rodon. They figure that out. I got to be fair, though. As much as I'd be very happy knowing where the Mets were a week ago, I'd be a little aggravated if I was a Met fan off the way yesterday was handled, and specifically
because of the starters?
Well, forget the starters. It is what it is. You're being dealt the injury card you're being dealt with. The not walking Aaron Judge in that spot.
Oh, yeah.
Because they allowed the game to get to 5-0, and they were chasing that number.
Right.
There was no reason knowing that. Think about this. The Yankees put out a lineup yesterday where Anthony Volpe was hitting 6th. Now Wells has the homer. He was fine, batting 7th. Peraza's out there again. DJ LeMahieu's out there. The Yankees screamed and yelled and handed a lineup card to the Mets saying, we don't plan on scoring a lot today despite your pitching. Right. And they allowed Aaron Judge to beat them in that spot. And that's a game where, you have
that beats them.
Right. The base running lapses later in the game, the double play by Bellinger, all these other things that happen later in the game. The game is controlled if you simply do not pitch to Aaron Judge.
So
now,
true.
You want to wash your hands and say we took 2 or 3 from the Yankees, we won 4 or 5. I get that. I'm not telling you the sky is falling on the Mets. You are currently also.
They corrected themselves.
Right.
You give the Mets credit. They corrected themselves.
But that game was managed yesterday, and I like Mendy, by a manager who thinks his team is 8 games in front in the division lead, and they're still in a spot here with the Phillies.
The one thing that you have to, as a Met fan, be completely comfortable with right now is that the National League East is a 2-team race. I know that you can't beat the Braves for whatever reason because the Braves stink. Like they've lost 4 in a row.
They're not going to be a factor.
Yet somehow they can't lose to the Mets. But I know that was a worry a week ago. The Braves aren't a worry right now. The Nationals basically just cleaned house, fired Rizzo, fired everybody. Like the Nationals are done. The Marlins likely are done too. So at least in the National League East, it's just a 2-man race. It's you and the Phillies. And your game or game and a half, whatever it is. I can't remember the losses and the number of games played, but whatever. They're a game and a half behind the Phillies right now. So it's all, not to steal a Booneism, but it's literally in front of them. Like the Mets, you feel comfortable with where they're going. But the Yankees, on the other hand, in the AL East, who knows how complicated or tight that can get as this season goes on. Because as much as I feel like the Red Sox are done,
they're not now.
They're not.
They're 2.5 back of the Yankees, or 3.5 back of the Yankees.
That's right.
Yankees, even with the Rays, 3 games back of the Jays.
Right.
That is a muddled mess. We're going to take your calls on the Yankees, the Mets, and more thoughts to come. Did Bellinger's play possibly turn the season around for the optimists out there? And Pete Alonso is skipping the home run derby. 888-808-1019.